Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video, man. Today is day 19 of trusting God's plan in the wait. And we're excited to see where the story keeps unfolding each and every day. And I appreciate you guys being here today. If you found this video through my other channel, Master and the Man, please make the switch over to Master in the Faith, because this is where I'll be posting all of my faith and mindset content moving forward, allowing it to have its own place to foster and grow as we build a community of believers here on YouTube. And we're glad to have you here today. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Day 19, and it's called The Best. Let's go. It says, have you ever introduced your family members to your boss? The boss only knows what you've told him or her about them. Joseph's family is now living in Goshen during this severe famine, and it's time to have an audience with Pharaoh. Joseph instructs his brothers to tell Pharaoh they are shepherds because Egyptians think shepherds are detestable. This may have been to put Pharaoh and his officials at ease that Joseph wasn't bringing any invading army of Hebrews. Here's where you see how much Pharaoh truly respects Joseph when he says to his brothers, and if you know any among them with a special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock. In other words, if they are half as good as you, Joseph, let them care for my stuff too. What a compliment. Now 130-year-old Jacob has a chance to meet Pharaoh as well. He is bold enough to bless Pharaoh twice in his presence. But again, we see how much Pharaoh likes Joseph as he gave them property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramses. Isn't it wonderful to witness God's faithfulness to save his people? God's favor and blessing on Joseph, even in a foreign nation, has given Jacob's family the best of their land. And remember, this is during a severe famine. The famine continues to ravage Egypt and Canaan, so much that people are starting running out of money to pay for all the grain Joseph has stored up. They begin selling their land and later themselves in a form of servitude. Lest we forget, this was a devastating drought. People were desperate. With Joseph's administration skills, he made Egypt and Pharaoh very, very rich. Never will we condone making people slaves. However, this shows how desperate people were during a famine. It also might explain why Pharaoh didn't kick the Israelites out when the famine was over. Pharaoh was too indebted to Joseph for all he did for Egypt. Why get rid of your prized employee when he's done so much for the nation? All right, y'all, so let's get straight into the questions for today. So it says, in what ways was God blessing the Israelites during the famine? And I think because of who Joseph is and the work that he's done, I think the blessings kind of get misconstrued right here, because you think, oh my gosh, these people are serving themselves, sending themselves into slavery and servitude. But on the flip side of it, they begin to get favor through Pharaoh, right? And it talks about how Pharaoh didn't kick them out after the famine was over because of the work of Joseph. God has provided the Israelites with the best of the land as he builds a new nation. And right now they're getting that favor from Pharaoh to stay in these lands and develop and grow without fear of getting killed or worse, because it says that the Egyptians despise the Israelites. Do you believe faith has a place in your workplace? Why or why not? I think faith does have a place in your workplace, because without faith, how did you even get the job, right? You apply and you wait and you interview and you wait. So the entire mindset behind working and obtaining employment is faith, right? You have to have faith that the job is going to be yours even before you apply. You have to have faith that you're going to excel in the position, or why even try doing it at all. So yeah, I think faith and having the presence of God is important for all that you do, no matter what you're doing and no matter where you're working. I think it's an important aspect, an important mindset to have. What are your thoughts on how Joseph handled the Egyptians and other nations when their money ran out? I think it was, I don't really know what to think about that, right? Because it's a different time, and these are the only ways that people could barter. This is the only way people could feed themselves and feed their families. It was to either sell their land or sell themselves. And honestly, to be real about it, these are the same things that are happening today. People are putting their homes up as leverage, or you're selling your car, you're selling your possessions. You're not so much selling yourself, but you're putting yourself into debt so that you can't really maneuver as free as you would like to. So in a sense, these are the same things that are happening today, unfortunately. All right, so let's get into the verse for today. It starts from Genesis 47, verse 1 on down, and it says, then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, my father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flocks and herds of possessions. They are now in the region of Goshen. Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, what is your occupation? They replied, We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live in the land of Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe there, so, please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Now that your father and brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen, and if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too." Then Joseph brought this to his father. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. "How old are you?" Pharaoh asked him. Jacob replied, "I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the life of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramses, to his father and his brothers, and settled them there, just as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided the food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up and people were starving throughout the land of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money is gone," they cried, "but please give us food or we will die before your very eyes." Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep, goats, herds of cattle, and donkeys, Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt and Pharaoh. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received allotments of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seeds so you can plant in the fields. Then when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crops will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seeds of your fields and food for you and your families and your households and your little ones. You have saved our lives," they exclaimed. "May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants." Joseph then issued a decree still in effect to the land of Egypt, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on the land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not to give to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. There they acquired property, they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. And now and as you guys know, man, that's it for today. We're going to get into the group chat. If you'd like to get into the group chat, hit the link in the description. Join us on the Bible app and join in on the Bible plan. Go back and read and understand what people's thoughts were, what we're reading, what we're understanding as we continue to develop this story of trusting God's plan and await Joseph's story. And it's a beautiful story. And I'll see you all tomorrow. We're almost done. It's been a beautiful journey. Glad to have you here with us, and I'll see you tomorrow. Keep mastering. God bless. Let's go.